So, a warm good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second day of the International E-Conclave. This is a wonderful Sunday once again, and we are all of us are here gathered to learn about yet another very interesting topic, very commonly used in India, on nicotine replacement therapy. We now quickly move on to the next session for the evening, the second scientific session, which is more on the effective use of nicotine gum and lozenges, where we are addressing the needs efficiently. Mostly in India, we have seen that this is used over the counter, and today, from the experts, we're going to learn how it can be used effectively for both smoking as well as smokeless tobacco cessation. So for this, I would like to invite the chairperson for the session, Dr. Deepak Purohit, who is member of the National Committee, Rotary Action Group, Addiction Prevention. He has been the past district governor for Rotary District 3131. He's also the international training leader for Florida in 2021. He owns a ISO hospital with modern amenities, having facilities of a trauma care unit and arthroscopy and joint replacement center. He was a former chairperson of a 50-bedded Dr. Parvardhan Charitable Hospital in Panvel. With this, I invite Sir to the session. Kindly chair the second scientific session.
Thank you, Shruti. Thank you for that generous introduction. And I really congratulate Shruti, Dr. Pawan, and everybody from iCanCare for taking this initiative for nicotine de-addiction. I represent a Rotary International, and I'm a member of a Rotary Action Group on Addiction Prevention India chapter. And I'm really happy that Dr. Manushri Gupta, who gave an excellent overview of nicotine replacement therapy and what is in our armamentarium. That was a really nice overview. Now, from our national capital, we will shift to our financial capital, that is from Delhi to Mumbai now. And the speaker which we have now with us is Dr. Jay Shastri, who is another psychiatrist and who is a member of a board of management of the Research Society for the Care, Treatment and Training of Children in Need of Special Care in Mumbai. He is a convener of the Child Psychiatry and Adolescent Psychiatry Specialty Section of Indian Psychiatric Society West Zone from 2009 to 2012, and then Honorary Secretary of Indian Psychiatric Society Western Zonal Branch from 2014 to 2018. Dr. Jay Shastri will be speaking to us specifically about the use of the nicotine gums and the lozenges, which we have just seen Dr. Manushri Gupta, who has given the overview. Now, may I ask Dr. Jay Shastri to start his presentation? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for that kind introduction. And I really thank the entire team of iCanCare, especially Dr. Prasad Shetty for inviting me for this particular talk, and different clinicians, mental health professionals who are here to listen to this wonderful endeavor which has been taken care by iCanCare. And after that excellent presentation by Dr. Gupta, I think my job is much more easier. And what I'll try and do is to focus more on a practical aspect, understanding the variety of participants which might be present here, where we might have somebody from non-medical field also. A lot of clinicians are present. So try to make it more practical, but then focusing mainly on how to use the nicotine replacement therapy, especially the gums and the lozenges, and how we address this particular need efficiently. So my presentation flow is going to be like this, where I'll start with certain important facts, then we'll go into certain research findings which will give us the lacunae or the issues which are related to nicotine replacement therapies. We'll have some small understanding about what the gums and the lozenges are and how they are supposed to be taken, the basic do's and don'ts. And then we'll shift our focus to the various advantages and disadvantages of this nicotine replacement therapy while focusing on gums and lozenges. And of course, the take-home message. So to start with, I'm sure everybody knows, those who are present here today, and they understand the grievous situation that is there in our hand. And But what is more important for us to know is this tobacco use is also the leading preventable cause of that. So here the word preventable is very, very important. And that's where the endeavors like this, the awareness, the dissemination of knowledge and understanding about what we are supposed to do is something which is going to be the key to the future of this particular problem. So preventable is something which is very, very important. Also, the average lifespan of smokers is reduced by more than 10% or 10 years compared to individuals who have never smoked. So we are cutting off a major chunk from an individual's life while they are smoking. So it's an issue which is definitely concerning. Probably people who is smoking might not realize that much because they are so much under influence and the effect of nicotine and smoking, that certain facts and the numbers are not understood by them. But the reason I'm presenting these numbers is because this becomes a very important basis of creating the right kind of motivation. Because if you talk about any substance abuse and try to come out of it, motivation of the individual becomes the key to success. Unless and until the person is motivated. We have often heard stories that a smoker of 40 years landed up in the ICU, and next day, heavy smoker, 40, 50 cigarettes in a day, and landed in ICU. Next day onward, he stopped taking cigarettes for the rest of his life. But then why wait for such consequences? And that's where working on people's motivation becomes very, very important. And that's where this numbers and this figures becomes a very important tool in making the other person understand to enhance their motivation and take them through journey of quitting tobacco, whether it is smoking or smokeless. Also, another important aspect is that smoking cessation by age of 40 reduces the mortality related to it by almost 90%, and by the age of 60 reduces by 40%. So that's again some astonishing numbers which we all have to remember. Being a psychiatrist, I have to present data as far as the mental health issues associated with smoking is concerned. Dr. Gupta also mentioned about it. But here a little different part is that there are some studies which are done which has shown to have improvements in the symptoms of depression and anxiety from smoking cessation, with effect size as comparable as those of antidepressants. Imagine there are enough number of patients out there who would tell that, okay, I am undergoing a lot of emotional stress issues, and that's the reason I'm smoking. And that's the reason, the reason for my smoking or taking tobacco is depression. I can't take care of my stressors, and that's where I do it. When I smoke cigarette, I feel so relaxed. I'm able to deliver my speech. I'm able to go for an interview. So while interacting with these individuals, it's again very, very important that if you take care of their smoking, the other mental health issues, which are again there in the forefront, gets addressed, and the efficacy is as good as the antidepressant medications. And also the prevalence of mortality of prevalence and mortality of smoking is so great among individuals with major psychiatric disorders that it is estimated that 1/2 of the patient who is diagnosed with schizophrenia, bipolar disorders, major disorders will die of tobacco-related illness. So we are not talking about any other issues. A single major parameter which dictates the prognosis of not the illness, but the individual, what's going to happen in their life is tobacco. So again, what we are sitting on is a major time bomb, and you cannot ignore it. We have to be aggressive. We have to be proactive. We have to make sure that we catch it by the neck and get it out of our system. Again, there is enough evidence that smoking cessation promotes abstinence from other substances. So we know most of our patients or the clients which come to us might not be only addicted to nicotine. It's also the alcohol and the cannabis and the other higher substances like benzodiazepines and other things which are mixed there. But then once you start addressing nicotine, which often acts as a gateway drug, it helps us to abstain from the other substances. So again, a major motivation for us, major driving force for us to start working on smoking cessation and get those people going on some sort of treatment to come out of it. So after that introduction, what research tells us? These are two studies which I'm going to present because it gives you a different perspective and also to understand how to use NRTs effectively, because these are very, very practical issues. These are population-based studies which was done by Zhang et al. In 2015, which says that majority of the smokers, more than 72% in general population, did not use any NRT when making an attempt to quit smoking. So we are not talking about double-blind trials. We are not talking about open-label trials. These are population-based studies, forms sent to the individuals, trying to understand their pattern, how they are handling their nicotine addictions. And imagine 72% try to stop it or correct it without using NRTs. This is such a big number. And we all know as a human being, failure or inability to quit something is a learned phenomena. Once you understand in your first attempt that, okay, there is a failure, you can't give up, probably you have lost for the rest of your life. So we have a big chunk who is out there who needs a nicotine replacement therapy, but then is not either aware about it, or if they are aware, they have enough enough issues or enough awareness, lack of awareness, which does not allow them to go ahead and take it. Also, this research shows that those who use NRT, almost 86% of them did it for less than 8 to 12 weeks. So again, not enough days of using NRT, which gives you a better results. NRT users also smoke more cigarettes per day and had tried to quit more often in the past compared to person who did not use NRT. So probably here is a cue for us. And what we need to understand is that if you want to use NRTs, especially the ones like gums and lozenges effectively, we probably have to look at patients who are early in their addictions. We also have to look at patients who are not worn out or have not had any major failures or relapses in the past. So that's where probably that they should be our target population. Another research, which is as recent as 2021, done by Mercer et al., shows that in this particular review, demonstrated that existing low level of adherence to NRT among adult participants of population-based studies as compared to clinical trial participants. So what we are trying to understand here is that there is a setup which is highly organized, where you have even medications provided to you, as opposed to something which is available over the counter and you are trying to buy it. Plus, there are psychotherapies, awareness programs, information leaflets, which is given to you to understand what you are going through as a part of treatment, and as opposed to something which you have either Googled about it or some friends have told you and not enough information shared. And that's something which gives you an understanding about how the organization of the entire process becomes very, very important. Also, the same study demonstrated that a strong association between level of adherence to NRT and the success of smoking. So more adherent you are to the NRT treatment, your smoking cessation becomes even more effective. So all our attempts has to be directed towards making sure that the person who is enrolling or he's encouraging to take NRT has enough awareness and the adherence is very, very strong to make it a successful program. So after these two basic research and the understanding, we'll go to different aspects of NRT and focusing on chewing gums and the lozenges. Well, as mentioned earlier, chewing gums, they come in basically two strengths, that is 2 milligrams and 4 milligrams per pieces. 4 milligram gum is for patients who is smoking more than 25 cigarettes per day. So it's probably for a heavy smoker, and use at least one piece 1 to 2 hours as needed, but it has to be up to 12 weeks. So that's the program that we are looking at. It can't be less than 3 months. If a person takes for 10 days, 15 days, or even a month, you might end up having more relapses or failure of NRT, and that's not necessary. Not effective treatment, but not effective implementation of it. Maximum you can take up to 24 pieces per day as recommended by the guidelines. Of course, the issues which we need to consider are the temporomandibular joint disease. You have to be obviously cautious in people with dentures and the dental problems. Another important aspect, again, which is mentioned briefly in the earlier presentation, is you should not drink 15 minutes before or after the use, or during the use you should not drink. And there is a specification with regards to gums and lozenges. You have to avoid acidic food. It includes either coffee, beer, or any kind of citric juices has to be avoided, because it decreases the oral absorption, the buccal absorption of nicotine replacement therapy. Chew the gum, the method, how you should be using it: chew the gum until the taste is very, very strong. Then you pack the gum, rest the gum between the gums, our gums and the cheek. Also chew again when the taste has faded. Do not try to swallow excessively. And I'll just tell you the reason why it should not happen. But this is again a very, very common mistake which people do who take NRTs, especially the ones which are very effectively used. And that's something which one has to be aware about, the method of taking NRT. We'll go on to lozenges. They are available in 3 different strengths: 1 milligram, 2 milligram, 4 milligram per pieces. Also with gums and also with lozenges, there are different flavors which are available just to improve the palatability of that particular product. 4 milligram lozenges is recommended for patients who smoke first cigarettes within 30 minutes of waking up. So there are a different criteria, but then primarily higher strength for more chronic or the serious smokers. Use at least 9 lozenges per day in the first 6 weeks and up to 12 weeks. Again, so duration becomes very, very important. If you cut short the therapy by any means, you might not get the results. Maximum you can take up to is 20 lozenges. Do not drink for 15, standard instructions for this kind of therapies. And of course, do not take more than 1 lozenges at a time. You might end up hurting your buccal mucosa and create more local issues, and not major advantages seen with regards to nicotine. So 1 lozenge at a time is something which is very, very important. Allow to dissolve the lozenge in the mouth for about 20 to 30 minutes, which is much more easier than the gums where the chewing is required for a certain time and it can be a little tiresome. And moving from side to side time to time will also help to avoid the local interactions. Do not try to swallow excessively and do not chew or swallow the whole tablet. Now, why swallowing becomes such a big concern, and how often we talk to our patients regarding this? Primarily because swallowed nicotine is absorbed poorly in acidic stomach environment. As I told about acidic drinks should be avoided. Similarly, if there is an acidic environment in the stomach, the absorption is not proper. We know in the brachial mucosa, because of the saliva and the high vascularity, the absorption is excellent, and that's where you should be more focusing on. And that's the basis of making this nicotine replacement therapy. Some is absorbed in the small bowel and is carried into the portal venous circulation, where it undergoes first pass hepatic metabolism, resulting in low bowel availability. So again, people understanding that the drug is not effective, but actually it's the method which is faulty. And ingestion of nicotine replacement therapy by swallowing gums or lozenges is therefore not recommended, but rather through buccal absorption is the one we should be encouraging and trying. Going to the advantages, disadvantages, and then finally to the points take home. Of course, the advantages of nicotine replacement therapy, it gives advantage to the user, that how much amount and the dosage that I can use. If there are certain moments of more stronger craving, you can then use even within an hour, and then titration can happen. So that gives you a little more flexibility as opposed to patches where it's fixed, you can't do anything about it. Potential for abuse and dependence is very, very minimal, because whatever said and done, there is some mechanical effort which is required, like in chewing, in lozenges also. So you tend to deter it by not taking it again and again. It's also done under medical supervision. So the abuse and the dependence pattern is very, very minimal. And also the kind of rush which is seen with smoking and the other tobacco products is not seen. It's a gradual increase in the nicotine level, and that also results in low abuse and dependence pattern. Stabilization of nicotine level in the blood is more linear, resulting in better reduction of both positive as well as negative reinforcement effect. But then, mind you, it happens over a period of time. That's why spending time with the patient, making them aware, these are not magic pills. They will have an effect, but then be a little more patient. At times, we have seen initiating the nicotine replacement therapy while on smoking also helps. It just creates that right kind of environment wherein the withdrawal or staying away from the smoking becomes much more effective. Also, the similar success rate as compared to the other available pharmacotherapy. We have talked about the other psychotherapeutic option, which is discussed in the earlier sessions. But then NRT has similar effective therapy, and also with better control with the user. So that's one thing which we have to be mindful about. The other advantages are the most effective type of therapy is combination therapy, as discussed also in the earlier presentation, transdermal patch plus faster acting lozenges. So you give one method which is gradually increasing the nicotine level, the other which is giving you the kick, and that's how the it helps you to cover both breakthrough craving as well as the long-term effect. It forms an excellent option also in the hospitalized patients. So people who are there for some lung-related elements, cardiac elements, we have to be mindful to talk to them about NRT, smoking, if or any form of tobacco which is available. And in that environment where they are away from nicotine, give them the right kind of dosages of NRT, and it can be an excellent option for them. How often we talk to our patients who is hospitalized about NRT? Again, a point to think about. Cardiac side effect typically seen with smoking is not observed in NRT due to its flat dose response relationship on hemodynamic effect. And also, there is enough research which says that fewer hospitalization due to cardiac event while on NRT. Other than advantages, there are certain challenges. I'll finish in another 2 minutes. Evidence in pregnant women and adolescent is not very, very strong, as discussed by Dr. Gupta. But obviously, in pregnant women, the research says that the negative aspect is also not there. So if you have a choice between smoking and NRT, obviously the option has to be more stronger in the favor of NRT. Cannot consider in present of recent major cardiac events on arrhythmia. Have to avoid. Nicotine gums and lozenges may cause different side effects like hiccups, cough, dyspepsia. Gums may also cause mouth and jaw soreness. You're chewing, using that on a regular basis, so there might be a lot of soreness which will be developed in temporomandibular joint. With incorrect chewing technique, lightheadedness, nausea, vomiting can also occur. Acidic beverages can interfere, so you have to be very, very mindful about it. Smoking is associated with other substance abuses, and sodas and coffee are very commonly there in the environment. But then while you are using NRT, you have to be very, very mindful about not using them. Premature discontinuation, as I've told umpteen number of times, 12 weeks minimum. If you do it before that, no use. You might feel NRT is not working, but your method is incorrect. Lack of clear information leading to non-compliance, whether it is about any disadvantages, whether it is NRT is addictive, whether it will make any difference. There are so many questions, but then answering those questions at the onset, giving the clarity to the patient remains key to make them more successful in NRT. Finance also is one of the major concern in our world. People at times juggle and see that, okay, cigarettes are more cheaper, or the smokeless tobaccos, BDs are more cheaper. So might as well go for that. But there again, giving them awareness that whatever you are doing is more dangerous in terms of long-term side effect. NRT does not have those kind of danger, even if they are expensive. So you are choosing life over everything else, and that's definitely not the wrong choice. So few take-homes before I close my presentation. Cigarette differ greatly from nicotine replacement therapy. So it's not going to give you the same kick, and it's not going to give you the same elation. And that's something which we have to keep in mind. The morbidity, mortality, and drug-drug interactions. The nicotine replacement therapy is effective, much safer, less addictive. Well, I'm saying with less addictive primarily because at times people take them, take the charge in their own hands, and that's something where they might use it for longer duration or use it for even for life. So that's something which can be one of the possibilities. These are individuals, but then majority of the time when done under supervision, it does not cause any addiction and less prone to medical interaction than cigarettes. So obviously, compared to cigarettes, smokeless tobaccos, that's the best option. A combination of long-acting nicotine patch along with lozenges, gums is more effective than a single form of nicotine replacement patch. So that's the mantra which we all have to remember. Of course, considering finance, pharmacotherapy for smoking cessation, including but not limited to nicotine replacement therapy, should be offered to all smokers except for those with contraindications. So those are the people who do not only come and talk to you, I want to smoke cigarettes. If you have a very important history that a person is smoking, please offer them nicotine replacement therapy, because you are doing a world of good for that particular individual. They might not be aware about it. Nicotine replacement therapy should be approached with caution in pregnant and breastfeeding patients and also within 2 weeks of myocardial infarctions. And final two points before I wind up is helping individuals by making them more aware, imparting correct scientific knowledge, helping them in each and every step of quitting journey is key to success. So we might have to develop a program, an app like how we have for COVID, where every morning a COVID patient gets a phone call, whether you have a symptom, how well you are doing. If you have problems, please call. So you have to probably get into those kind of activities if you want to be more successful. So it's not the therapy which is incorrect, it's the way we implement which is very, very, very incorrect. And also, most importantly, all the stakeholders, and I am including myself, that will have to share their own inhibitions and lethargies. That I know there are enough lethargies, inhibitions in prescribing nicotine replacement therapy. You might have seen 100 patients who might benefit with NRT, but how often we prescribe them? So we have to lose or shed our inhibitions and lethargies to make sure that the war against nicotine is fought with full commitment. Thank you so much for patient hearing. Thank you so much. Over to the organizers.
Thank you so much, Jason. I think it was a wonderful presentation. I'm sure a lot of questions are answered regarding the use of nicotine gums and lozenges. However, there is a constant question on the chat box about the use of these NRT and the dosages in these smokeless tobacco users in India. So I'll request that if you can please put down some comments on the chat box for the users. And of course, in the open discussion, we will take it in much more detail.
Okay.
And now I'll invite Dr. Purohit, Dr. Deepak Purohit, to kindly give his concluding remarks for the session.
Well, thank you very much, Shruti. Let me congratulate Dr. Jay Shastri for a very, very nice and lucid presentation. Hearty congratulations, Jay, for that, because you gave us exactly how to use these gums and lozenges. Not only that, the dosage and the precautions to be taken, as well as the challenges that we can face as a medical practitioner or a counselor for the nicotine replacement therapy. And I'm sure that many of us who have been listening to this will be very happy to hear your talk. Thanks again. And I'm sure that there will be a lot more questions that you need to answer whenever there is a question and answer session. And then let me also ask you for the assistance on behalf of Rotary International, that yourself, Dr. Jay, Dr. Manushri, we will like you to come on our Rotary platform also to make these type of efforts to the common public as well as to the college children. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, sir. Pleasure. We'll be there.
Thank you so much, Deepak sir. And now with this, I thank both our speaker, Dr. Jay Shastri, for the evening, and our chairperson, Dr. Deepak Purohit, for the scientific session.